So in last week's video, I talked about when is the right time for you to unfortunately let someone in your sales team go. And if you watch the video, I talk about a number of things to look out for that if you see them happening with a member of your sales team, it's time to maybe let that person go. So in this video, I'm going to share with you how to go about making that tough decision in a way that protects you and that also is nice and as kind as you can be to the person you're letting go. My name's James White. I'm a small business sales expert. I love helping small businesses grow their businesses, dealing with the challenges that come from sales and sales teams. Let's have a look at the video on how to go about making that tough decision to let someone go. So the first thing is this: you have to make sure that it is the right time to do this. And I encourage you to give yourself 10-15 minutes to just get your thoughts together and really clarify in your mind that this is the decision you want to take. I was once told that it's really important to maybe hire slow and fire fast. And what that means is you've got to make sure that you bring the right people into your business, and then if things aren't working out, let them go in the right way. But when you do this in a sales team, there's lots of implications for the business and for you to consider. That doesn't mean you have to ignore making the tough decision. Write down the pros and cons of what it's taken to let that person go, what impact it will have for you, and what you can do to ensure that going forward, you can avoid this mistake happening again. The key thing is this: doing nothing is not an option and won't get you to where you want to go as a company. We've got to make brave decisions. We've got to make them in the right way, but we've also got to know we've made them, haven't had them time to think about what the impact could be. So the second point is this: unless you're some kind of weird person that enjoys hurting others, no one should really enjoy giving bad news to someone else, especially when you're telling them that they're going to lose their job and their livelihood or their family could be affected by letting them go. It's one of the most horrible things I've ever had to do as a business owner. And even when I have to make those tough decisions now, I hate it because I'm always thinking about what's the impact of that conversation. So one of the things I encourage you to do is to really treat that other person like a human being. Really make sure that you start to put yourself in their shoes. Great sales is all about empathy. So start to think a little bit about how they're going to feel. If you really treat them as if they're dirt, then don't be surprised that you then get a negative reaction and the impact of that in time hurts you and your business. Be the bigger person. Even if they decide they want to come back to you and say what was wrong with you and what was wrong with your company, accept that, take that criticism on the chin so that they can move forward with a bit of dignity and you can move forward to get your business where you want it to be. The reality is doing these things are very difficult, and especially if it's news that that person hadn't expected or hadn't wanted, then it's going to be a shock for them to deal with, and it's going to hurt them and maybe cause them to say things that maybe they wouldn't normally say. So the third point is this: whatever you're doing when it comes to people within businesses, take professional advice. What do I mean by taking professional advice? If you've got a human resources or organizational development company or consultancy that works with you, then talk to them about what you're doing. I've seen businesses make so many decisions related to people that come to bite them on the backside afterwards, maybe due to the length of service that that person's had, or maybe some conditions of their employment, or maybe even some things like some disabilities that that person had that they hadn't taken into account, and as a result of just making a rash decision and letting someone go, it comes to hurt them financially and emotionally later down the line. When those issues happen, it will drain your time as a business owner having to solve issues and go into a legal discussion with someone, and it generally is going to cost you as well in time if you don't take the right advice up front. I implore you to discuss what you're looking to do with a HR professional and at least get their advice on what could be the worst case scenario or best case scenario from making the decision that you're going to. Do that. It's worth spending a bit of time and maybe money up front to avoid lots of pain and challenges for when you do something in the wrong way. It can hurt. I've seen it. Don't let that be you and your business. So the next point is this: ahead of making this tough call, I want you to really write down and think about the implication of the action that you're taking. There's a number of key factors, especially when you're talking about salespeople, that need to be taken into consideration. The first thing is this: what will it say to other team members in your organization or other salespeople that are working with you? What's your communication going to be to those people to explain what happened? And how can you ensure that they then don't start feeling worried about their roles and what's going on in the business? The worst thing that happens is you've then got great salespeople who don't want to leave, looking at other opportunities because they've not been fed the right communication on why something was happening and what it meant for them. Communicate to that team. But you've also got to make sure you communicate to the prospects or the customers that salesperson was working with. I see it a lot where people just come in and take over from someone and say, oh, so-and-so doesn't work here anymore. And if that person's built up a good relationship with a prospect, it could potentially affect your chance of winning the business. Have an honest conversation with them and say, look, I'm really sorry, but Jack or Sam doesn't work here anymore, but we'd still love to work with you and talk things through. Talk to me through about the impact that would have on you, or how did you find working with Sam? And if they then say, well, I really enjoyed working with Sam, then you might need to be able to work a response back to that company to try and keep that deal alive. So the next point is this. Just think through, and in your planning ahead of the decision, write down what opportunities that person is currently working with or clients, and actually who could be best placed to then pick up that work so that it doesn't affect you in the business. Doing this little bit of due diligence ahead of making the decision will mean that when things do happen, you're prepared, you're able to say, even though this challenge is happening and so is leaving, this is how we'll pick up this issue, this is how we'll solve this issue. So another key point is this. If you've taken the right advice from a HR professional or organizational development person, they're going to give you a script and an outline in which to use within the meeting and conversation that you're having with this person. You may even need to arrange a date and time for the meeting to take place so that the other person has a chance to bring someone with them to the meeting. There are a number of factors, depending on where your business is situated, that you have to ensure you put in place to make sure that that process is followed to do it in a way that protects you and your company. But writing down the scripts or the words or the phrases that you want to use is critical. If you go into that meeting and just try and wing it and just try and talk about things, what will end up happening is you'll get into talking about things you don't want to say, and that might mean that it could cause you issues further down the line. And again, if the person then wants to discuss other elements, maybe if they're not critical to the decision or you don't want to go into them, just actually state that can't happen at the moment and stick to the plan that you've got. That plan, especially if it's been advised to you by a HR professional, will be a protection to you and the company. And even though it might leave the person with a few queries, wondering what they could have done differently, it's going to hopefully protect you and the company to ensure that they don't make a claim against you or then don't start sharing bad things about you externally. That may happen, but if you've done it in a professional way, at least you can then make sure that to other people, you've done the right thing in the right way. So the penultimate point is this. Just remember, and maybe if you have to include it in your script that you use with the person, to remember this. People sometimes take these type of decisions in a very personal way. It's sometimes there isn't a fit. There's sometimes just not a right match for a person and a company. And it's not a personal decision that you're trying to make. You don't personally want them to wish them unwell or for them to be unhappy. But from a business perspective, for your business to grow and flourish, or your area of the business to grow, you have to make this business decision. When we talk to people about it being a business thing rather than personal, they can sometimes understand it a bit more. And it's vital that we can show them that actually the reason we're making that decision is for business reasons, for things that haven't happened in the way we'd like it to, that affect your business, rather than just being something you want to do because you want to make them unhappy. No one's like that, but people take it personally. And so don't be afraid to outline the business reasons and why you're having to do what you're doing, and then take the action as needed and get it over and done with so you can move on and they can move on too. And the final thing to do, once you've taken the action and hopefully you've provided the person with the relevant paperwork and information and paid them what their dues were, whether it's holiday, etc., is do the following. Have a little look in the mirror and ask yourself the question, why did this person or this appointment not work out? What could you have done differently? Could you have approached that person maybe on a more personal level at the start of the conversations that you were having with them? Could you have given them more support, more training, more help, more mentoring in order to help them become better at sales? If they were struggling with something in their personal life, could you have just been a bit more understanding of that? One of the biggest factors that I think is critical for us all is to be able to look at how we learn and adapt and deal with situations better. And in most cases, when things go wrong, it's not necessarily just the fault of the person that we brought in. Maybe we are at fault as well by getting the wrong expectations or hiring someone that just didn't give us a gut feel or something wasn't right. The challenge in business is sometimes we continue to do the same things and expect a different result. And if you continue to be unrealistic about your expectations or hire people without doing the right research or not on board or mentor them in the right way, you're going to get the same problem time and time again. And the thing for you as a business owner or sales professional is it's just going to waste the most important commodity you have, which is time. We want to make sure that the hires that we bring into our business have the most impact. Take that time, hire slow, fire fast. If people aren't right, let them go. Do it in a way that's humane and in a way that actually helps them feel that they can see where they can improve and develop, and do it in a structured way that gives you and your business the protection. But be accountable. You're the manager, you're the leader. And if something's gone wrong, why did it happen? Be prepared to ask yourself the question so you can avoid making that same mistake again. So I hope these videos have been helpful. I really encourage you to have a little look at the video about when is the right time to let someone go. The process of how needs to be done in the right way and an effective way. My name is James Wyatt. I'm a small business sales expert. I've hired and recruited lots of salespeople in my time for my businesses and clients. I've made mistakes and I've made some brilliant hires. I know what it's like to build a sales team and go through those challenges. Please subscribe to the channel, like it, share it with other sales managers you know so we can ensure they don't make the same mistakes. But let's make sure that we do things in the right way that protects you, protects your business, and gets us all feeling good about the future and what we can achieve if we're successful when it comes to sales, which I know you can be. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you've enjoyed it. I look forward to sharing another video with you next Saturday morning. Until then, have a great week.